In an exclusive interview with Euronews, Kaya Kallas announces duties on Israeli goods.
At least 2 people were killed and close to 24 others injured as Russian forces carried out aerial attacks against Ukrainian cities overnight into Tuesday.
Hollywood legend and Oscar-winning actor and director Robert Redford has died at his home in Utah, aged 89.
The European Commission is proposing to impose duties on products coming from Israel as a response to the war in Gaza. In an interview with Euronews, EU High Representative Kaya Kallas explained the details of the proposal she is putting on the table this Wednesday.
One of them is suspension of the trade part of the association agreement. We have a trade of 42.6 billion euros with Israel in 2024. So it is a significant amount. And when it comes to the preferential treatment, then 37% of that trade really has the preferential treatment. So definitely this step will have a high cost for Israel.
So just to confirm, 37% of 42 billion is what's on the table?
It's the preferential treatment under this association group.
So goods coming from Israel will have duties applied to them?
Yes.
This proposal requires backing from a qualified majority of member states, meaning it needs the support of a major country like Germany or Italy to succeed. Both have previously blocked all EU proposals against Israel, but Kallas is calling on them to back this one.
My question to all counterparts, because it's not only Germany, was that if you agree on the diagnosis that the situation is extremely grave, the situation is disastrous, and untenable, then the question is, what do we do about this? If you don't support these measures, then what measures can you support? Bring alternatives.
For Kallas, the EU does have quite a lot of weight over Israel, as it is the country's largest trading partner. You can listen to the full interview on the Europe Conversation.
Gaza City came under heavy bombing by Israel Monday overnight, with Palestinian residents reporting heavy strikes across the urban center. Israeli Defense Minister Israel-Gaza wrote on X that, quote, Gaza is burning, and reaffirmed Israel's stance that it will not back down until they deem their mission complete. It comes amid reports that Israel has begun its ground offensive in the Strip's biggest city. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio warned that the window to reach a negotiated settlement is closing.
As you saw, the Israelis have begun to take operations there, so we think we have a very short window of time in which a deal could happen. We don't have months anymore, and we probably have days and maybe a few weeks, so it's a key moment.
The U.S. top diplomat's statement came prior to his departure to Qatar. Rubio plans to meet with officials there still outraged over Israel's strike on a residential area in the Qatari capital, Doha, last week in what they say was a targeted strike at Hamas officials. The attack has been condemned internationally, including by the United Nations Security Council.
Hundreds of people attended the funeral services for 31 Yemeni journalists reportedly killed in last week's Israeli strikes on Sana'a. The Israeli strikes targeted the Iran-backed Houthi rebels in the Yemeni capital on Wednesday, killing dozens of people. The country's health ministry says the Israeli missiles struck residential areas, a gas station, and a military site. It came in response to a drone attack launched by the rebels, which breached Israeli air defenses. The Houthi drone hit an airport in southern Israel, causing damage to a building and injuring one person. The Iran-backed group says it will continue targeting Israel until it ends its offensive on Gaza, which is approaching its second year. At least 2 people were killed and 18 others injured after Russian forces targeted the southeastern city of Zaporizhia overnight into Tuesday. Regional Governor Ivan Fedorov said 2 children, including a 4-year-old, were among the injured. The city was targeted by at least 10 strikes, hitting mostly civilian infrastructure, according to Ukraine's State Emergency Service. Videos shot at the scene showed firefighters tackling massive blazes in private homes and high-rise buildings. Elsewhere, Russian strikes also targeted an industrial complex in the capital region Kyiv, causing significant damage and creating an environmental hazard. 4 warehouses and over a dozen vehicles were damaged in those attacks, though no civilian casualties were reported. The Kremlin also targeted an educational institution in the northeastern city of Kharkiv, injuring at least 2 people. The impact of the strike damaged the roof of a building, sparking a fire covering an area of around 150 meters.
Poland's State Protection Service neutralized a drone that was flying over government buildings in Warsaw. Prime Minister Donald Tusk said 2 Belarusian citizens were detained and police have launched an investigation. The incident comes at a time of heightened regional tensions following a string of airspace violations. Poland says its airspace was violated in the early hours of Wednesday by 19 drones, believed to be from Russia. In response, the armed forces of Ukraine said it would send a team to Poland to provide anti-drone training. And NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte announced an Eastern Sentry program on Friday, which aims to deter further Russian incursions and show solidarity with Poland.
British royals are set to receive US President Donald Trump, who is visiting the United Kingdom this Tuesday for a historic second state visit. The visit will include a state banquet hosted by King Charles III at Windsor Castle and a bilateral meeting with Prime Minister Keir Starmer. Trump and First Lady Melania are expected to arrive on Tuesday evening and depart Thursday in what will see the UK deploy one of its biggest security operations. Their visit comes after an invitation was formally extended in February to Trump, with Starmer presenting a signed letter from King Charles. During the visit, Trump will inspect the Guard of Honor and pay a private visit to the grave of late Queen Elizabeth II, who received him during his first state visit in June 2019. While the U.S. leader will be wined and dined by the royal family, senior officials on both sides will be fleshing out matters on bilateral issues and cooperation behind the scenes. The U.S. and U.K. are expected to announce agreements on technology and civil nuclear energy.
US President Donald Trump on Monday filed a $15 billion defamation lawsuit against the New York Times and 4 of its journalists. The US leader said the outlet was a virtual mouthpiece for the Democratic Party, which he called part of the radical left. The lawsuit, filed in Florida, names several articles and a book written by 2 Times journalists in the run-up to the 2024 election, which Trump won. Trump singled out the paper for backing his campaign rival Kamala Harris as part of what he said was a targeted media campaign against him. It comes days after the New York Times said it had been threatened by legal action from the White House over its reporting on a note Trump allegedly gifted to disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein. Trump has filed an additional billion-dollar lawsuit against the Wall Street Journal for breaking the story on the note's existence. The New York Times has yet to comment on the legal case.
U.S. President Donald Trump has suggested that a deal with China has been reached over TikTok to keep the platform running in the United States. Trump teased the news in a post on his own social media platform, Truth Social, on Monday, and opted to keep an element of mystery around the deal. Trump wrote, quote, "A deal was also reached on a certain company that young people in our country very much want to save." TikTok was initially shut down as U.S. lawmakers expressed concern that the popular app was being used to retrieve personal information from its users, which then gets stored with its Chinese parent company ByteDance. Washington also accused the Chinese Communist Party of having access to this data, citing a major security concern. The app was given permission to operate, so long as an American company purchases its U.S. subsidiary. Trump said the deal was reached as U.S. and Chinese delegations met in Europe to discuss a trade deal as the threat of crippling sanctions continues to loom. He also noted that he will be speaking with his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping later this week, insisting that the relationship is very strong.
Hollywood legend and Oscar-winning actor and director Robert Redford has died, aged 89. Redford died in his sleep at his home in Utah. No cause of death was specified. Redford was one of the defining movie stars of the 1970s, starring in multiple films before receiving critical acclaim as a director and producer. A magnetic on-screen presence, Redford made his mark on the world of cinema through iconic roles in All the President's Men, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, and Out of Africa. He received an Oscar nomination for Best Actor in his performance in 1973's The Sting. In 1980, he made his directorial debut with Ordinary People, winning 4 Academy Awards including Best Picture and Director. Widely considered the godfather of independent cinema, he also co-founded the Sundance Film Festival, which has acted as a platform for hundreds of independent films. He is survived by his wife, 2 daughters and grandchildren.
Spain will withdraw from the Eurovision Song Contest in 2026 if Israel takes part in the event, the country's state broadcaster has said. Spain is the 5th country to announce its decision to boycott Israel's participation, following prior announcements made by the Netherlands, Slovenia, Iceland and Ireland. It is also the first country of the contest's so-called Big Five, which are the 5 largest contributors to the competition. Israel's participation in the contest has repeatedly been criticized because of its ongoing offensive in Gaza. More than 70 former Eurovision contestants signed an open letter demanding Israel's exclusion. Last week, Eurovision said it would respect any boycott decision over Israel, but now several media have been reporting that the contest organizers gave Israel an ultimatum, either to withdraw from the competition or perform under a neutral flag.